Well, howdy folks, Hellcracks here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, year 3039. We haven't reached that 3050 clan stuff yet, but hey, today we're going to be talking about something that kind of goes back to the Star League. It's been around, that's when in time it got started. The Longbow, the 85-ton mech that, well, not so great. So, I'll discuss why I don't like it. But the Longbow, alright, in its standard configuration, if we look at her, the Longbow is an 85-ton mech. Alright, that's not bad. And, you know, we're talking an assault mech here, which is about 1370 when it comes into battle value, minus whatever the pilot might be. And we're looking at a 460. Okay, that's not so bad. That kind of gets around. It's got some speed, so it can displace. You know, yeah, not bad, not bad. Carries around 13 heat sinks. An assault mech with only 13 heat sinks. You'd think that it might carry a few more, but we'll figure that one out. Then we get into the armor. It has 144 points. That's just... Wait a minute, that's not maxed out. That's like nothing. That's like paper thin. We're looking at spots that can be breached with just... Well, if you get hit in the center torso, you're not going to have any armor left. Let that thing sink in a little bit. Well, I guess no. I'm talking about the back. But in the front it has 21. It's got 18 in the torsos. So... if you get hit on this thing, it isn't very long before this thing is looking at not having any armor on it at all. And we're talking, if something is an assault mech and it gets into one of those games, it's going to be ripped up pretty quickly. If other assaults or heavies look at it and go, look at that. It's a longbow. Let's just tear it to pieces. So that's one of the problems you have with the longbow. Now, equipment. Well, this is where it kind of shines. It has two LRM-20s, one in each arm, with no arms or lower actuators. Let that one sink in a little bit. Carries around in the right and left torso 2 tons of ammo each. And then it has two LRM-5s in the right and left torso, with 2 tons of ammo in the center torso. And then it's well protected up close and personal with a small laser. I'm like, this is an assault mech. Where's the rest of it? And I look at this thing, it's like, you know, if you ever played against me, it's like, yeah, how many times? You probably could count on one hand the number of times I ever fielded a longbow. Most likely because I'd rather use an archer or a stalker. That's just the way just kind of how I roll. Because I prefer those things a little bit more. Now, what is the problem? Well, we discussed one of the biggest problems I have with the longbow is that 144 points of armor. That is paper thin for an assault mech. There is nothing there that if you get into a protracted engagement, this thing is doomed. Plain and simple. Second problem I have with this thing, which I always love whenever I see a longbow, is that, it has nothing but LRMs. So I'm going to get in its face because minimum range. All right, you're looking at a 6. If you get, it can't shoot anything that's up close. The only thing it can do is hope that it can kick it. You may try to punch, but you wouldn't be punching anyway because all your weapons are in your arms, and at least your big ones. Because are you going to be shooting at somebody point blank range that's trying to beat the heck out of you, or are you going to be continually sending rounds down range? Because basically how I ever use it was that, all right, somebody got on my face, I have to continue fire support, and then I'm going to try to maneuver myself and try to kick somebody in the face type of deal. Or, kick a leg off, basically. I'm not above kicking somebody's leg off. So you get hit with an 85-ton mech. I don't care if they have armor or not. You know, it's like that. They're going to know that they got that leg hammered pretty hard. So, all right. So that's the big thing. Now let's just look at it. We have 13 heat sinks, and then we got a pair of LRMs, 20s. So if you fire both LRM 20s, that's 12 heat. You got 13. That's not a problem. If you don't move, this is where the longbow's used best. Is you get yourself into a kind of a hull down type of situation, lock yourself into like a wood on top of a hill, or where you got a good view of fire, and then you just park yourself. You don't move, and you just keep hammering until those, you know, you can fire 12 turns for the weapons bays or dry. All right, so that's not so bad. But if you start tossing in those two LRM5s, so all right, so if you walk, no heat with two LRM20s. You run, all right, you're going up 1. You can do that for 4 turns before you start having any movement problems. Okay, that's not a big issue if you heat up a little bit. Now, if you throw in the two LRM5, so now you're looking at 12 plus another 4, that's 16. If you walk, that's 17. You just went up 4 right off the bat. So you're sitting there not really doing a very good job as a fire support mech. Okay, you can do that for a turn, and then the next turn something has to shut off to cool off, and then the next turn you go back to it again. Go, you shoot something, then not shoot something, shoot something, then shoot it. So the odds are that you really can't keep up the damage. Now, if you do go 2 turns in a row, so let's say you're just parked, you're not moving, and you just went up 16, so yeah, you can do that for 2 turns. If you're not moving, the -1 modifier isn't a big deal, but it's when you get into the fire modifier, when you reach the 8 point, say heat, you can do 2 turns of not moving and firing, and you get by with it. Okay, it's the 3rd turn where you're going to shut something off to cool off, because you can't do that every turn, because you're doing yourself no favors, especially if you're a fire support mech and your job is to rain down fire on somebody to do as much damage as possible. And if you're adding a +1 right off the bat for heat, you know, that's the difference between a lot of times hitting and not hitting, is 1. Because I keep saying, harping on it, is that the difference between a 7 and an 8 is night and day. It could be an 8 or a 9. It gets harder and harder, and every time you add a modifier onto that, makes it even tougher. All right, now I did talk about what is the weakness. The weakness is it has no enclosed support at all. This is the OW, or the 0W version, which is in the from the Star League on to 39 book, which is I'm talking about in the 39 book. I'm going to have even discussed, because a lot of the variants that deal with the massive problems with this start falling into the 50, 58 books, and we're not there yet. So I'm not even to bring those up, because the one variant they do talk about, which is 7Q, I believe, if I want to remember to look at it, is the 3058 book. So, not going to discuss it. You can look up yourself. Solves a lot of problems with it. Makes it slower. Adds a few enclosed medium lasers. Fine. Okay, good job. Now, some things that I would do with this thing. So if I was to mess with this thing, I'm dropping the 2 LRM5s. They're gone. Completely toast. Out of there. I'm going to toss on a couple, probably 3 medium lasers. Usually that's how I work with it. Unload the LRM5s, put a couple medium lasers on there, and then I'm going to toss in more armor. So 3 more tons of armor, so you're now looking at 192. That is pretty decent. So you, heck, I'd even dump the that small laser. Get rid of that small laser. You don't need that thing. It's not doing much good anyway. You might as well put a little bit more armor on. So now you got 2 LRM-20s, 3 medium lasers for something up close, and then 200 points of armor, 13 heat sinks. So if somebody gets up close, you can still fire the 3 medium lasers. So you get, let's say, a vehicle or some scouts or fast medium mechs like some Shadowhawks or Phoenix Hawks or Stingers, Wasps, you name it. Anybody that's really quick and maneuverable with jump jets, and they come in there and hammer you pretty hard, at least you got something to shoot in close. So then you're looking at, you have 9 heat with the medium lasers, add on a LRM-20 for something that might be a little bit farther out, and you're at 15 heat. And if you don't move, okay, that's not a big deal. You just went up 3, so the next turn you're going to have to shut something off. Usually it's like medium laser. All right, then cool. So that's kind of how you got to deal with this thing. Now, another problem with this mech is, we talked about it with the lack of armor. The lack of armor is, as soon as you get into a torso, right torso, center torso, and left torso. In the right or left torso, if you get 1 chance of critical, you have about a 67% chance of hitting the ammo if it hasn't used up one of its bays already. That is something that will kill this mech pretty quickly. If you punch through and then suddenly you set off an ammo explosion, it's gone. And I've done that many times in games where I see a longbow and you try to focus into, it's like, I will go, it's like a linebacker, right? I move all my forces into the right arc, try to get everybody in the right arc, and just funnel everything in. And so suddenly you're hitting more chances into the right side, and then next thing you know, you're getting into the weakness of getting into the ammo area, because you get a chance critical, especially if you hit somebody with some SRMs and those plink 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 little 2-point knockers, and next thing you know, this guy goes catastrophic. And the number of times I've seen a longbow catastrophic explosion, that's a big deal. So there you go. So that's one of the biggest problems. Now, like I said, how do we try to stop that? This thing needs a bodyguard or 2. And when you have to bodyguard a mech, that means you're taking sometimes a mech that could be on the front line to protect somebody that can't protect themselves. So that's another reason why I'm not a big fan of the longbow, is that it needs a bodyguard. You got to have somebody with some closer range stuff, and maybe like, say, you combine this thing up with an archer that can work as a bodyguard, because the archer does have some, naturally comes with some enclosed stuff to protect itself. So you could get by with, say, an archer bodyguarding the longbow. But let's say you get some fast moving, let's say some Saracens or Pegasus vehicles that just fly across the board, and they're suddenly in the backfield, and this mech is sitting there going, what do I do? It's like it's forced to continually doing downrange fire while it's hopefully kicking something. That's about it. So, and then many times it's like I use some fast moving vehicles, get in behind these things, and just start raining fire into the rear arc, and then the next thing you know, it's gone. It just explodes in a big giant fireball. Now, I talked about having a bodyguard, so it's like, yeah, I guess a big thing would be a grasshopper. That's a good one, because it has all those short range not LRMs, but medium lasers which I love the Grasshopper. Yeah, it has a large laser and an LRM-5, which I usually dump the LRM-5, but so you got something that can be up close and personal and continually plinking away. Okay, that's good. Then you look at, you could use a Warhammer as a fire support, direct fire support. You got a couple PPCs, putting those downrange and then firing, cooling. Awesome could be used also, because I look at the Awesome as a fire support mech, direct fire support, and then when it gets in closer, then it kind of turns into a melee beast. Let's see, there's others. Actually a pretty good one would be a Hunchback. You get into the one with the sway back with the 9 medium laser or 8 medium lasers. That's a real good one. Now, if you really like AC-20s and you like to kind of hopefully scare somebody off with the intimidation factor of an AC-20, because they always could put an AC-20 into somebody's head, ending their day real quick. I've done that, but you know, it's not very common. But the idea of seeing an AC-20 coming at you a lot of times is enough to scare somebody off. So there you go. But that's it. Pretty much in a nutshell, this is a mech that is an assault mech that needs a lot of help for what it kind of brings to the table. And the only time the help comes is when you move into the later, when you get better technology, either double heat sinks or XL engines, stuff like that. And that's going to help out greatly. Now, another one is like the one version they do talk about, the, I think it's a 7Q. That one puts a 3.5 engine in it, which frees up a whole bunch of tonnage, which gives it more heat sinks and armor, which turns it into kind of a beast. And so it's kind of like a stalker. And I love stalkers. Stalkers are great. It's a great mech if you know how to manage the heat signature on those things. But until you can do something, so I guess in the 39 version, you could turn around and take this mech and drop it down to a 3.5 in that era, and then you're going to have a ton of, and you could probably upgrade to a couple LRM-20s or even 2 LRM-10s. Now you could put 2 LRM-10s on it, a bunch of heat sinks. All right, so that's something you could think about doing and go that route. Let me look at it here real quick. LRM-10s, 2 of them, 2, and add. Yeah, so you got 200 points of armor, 2 LRM-10s, 2 tons. So you could do that. So 2 LRM-20s, 2 LRM-10s, but still you got the big problem with the heat signature. So you got 12, 20. Yeah, so you're still going to be heating up pretty hard. And then you're still going to need something close, either a bodyguard or putting some medium lasers on it. Or you could just leave the 2 LRM-5s, and then if you got the 2 LRM-5s on it, then you could add the 3 medium lasers, and you're sitting at 19, 20. Yeah, 20. You put 20 heat sinks. It's a 3.5, 20 heat sinks, 2 LRM-10, 2 LRM-20s, 2 LRM-5s, and 3 medium lasers. All right, so that's pretty decent. And you could do that in a 39 era if you wanted to, just slow the thing down. And then it actually becomes a pretty decent mech, even though it's slow. But it can handle itself in a pitched battle then, which before, this thing got toasted quickly. But hopefully I rambled on too long in this one. Like and subscribe. Have your thoughts down below and what you think about this mech. And if you really love it or not. Hey, some people love this thing. I don't. But, you know, that's the thing about this game. There's so many different mechs out there. People love them. Some people hate them. Right? Can't make everybody happy. All right. Hope you guys like it. We'll talk with you later. Hellcrex out.